Welcome back, Truth and Transparency. So let's try this again. Making sure we can hear. Welcome back, Truth and Transparency. Can we hear out there? Making sure everybody can hear. Get your notifications on. We're back. Yes, we can hear. Perfect. Welcome back. A lot more signs up. Bob's now on scene interviewing Andrea and lawyer Lee. So here we go. The Prop, Delphi After Dark, Crime Night, Defense Diaries Podcast, Criminality, I of Office R and M Productions, lawyer Lee, all eyes on Delphi. Oh, everybody followed me after I put my little sign out there. Look at that.
I had all of the repeaters up there.
There you go, baby. Well, my girl's right there. Look at that. I mean, come on in, back down here. All eyes on Delphi, baby. I'm not your fall guy.
I'm not surprised.
We are not gullible. Investigate the investigation. Again, welcome everybody back down here. Delphi, Indiana.
Good morning. Look at old Bob.
I'm alive.
When I came, I told folks, I don't know whether he's guilty or not. I just think there ought to be people there, it ought to be public, and there ought to be...
So everybody can hear, right?
Do they believe he's guilty? Do they not believe he's guilty? That's the safe option. I've been waiting for that, and I will say after the verdict, but not until.
Yeah, no, and I think that that's fair. I'm kind of the same mindset. It's
there you go. It's filling up, though. It's definitely filling up. Audio good. Check. Microphone check. Still holding out hope for Abby and Libby. I love it. You did so good, Julie.
Thank you.
So then, like just a few months ago, he calls me. He goes,
Again, just
"Oh, really? Where?" He goes,
got myself a nice little, charged it all up, charged the phone up. Good morning. You guys sleep good? I was hoping that you would come over and scare me. We don't have a verdict yet. No verdict yet. No verdict yet. Come on in. No verdict yet. They're talking about the line over there, the list.
You guys are going to be...
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. No, you're good.
Probably...
Give it up for Lauren in the house, hidden true crimes right there. You're very welcome, baby girl. We're going to be covering the Florida case out there, Jared Bridegan, and so y'all are definitely having a positive impact. Hopefully, everybody's doing their part. I will say that. So, and everybody's doing it in the best way possible, which is with respect, kindness. The people that are the true independent journalists, you can tell the way that they're handling themselves, conducting themselves. Again, everybody can have differences of opinion, and it's how you choose to handle yourself when you hear other people's opinions. So
We're going to move that. be confident and make a decision.
Crowd favorite here.
To go home and live with that. The real wild card in this whole situation, from my perspective, is this situation in Indiana where they can kind of pre-deliberate. It's something I'd never heard of before, but actually, like the more I thought about it, some parts of it really have grown on me. And one of those is just their ability to get their thoughts out about the evidence as it's happening, instead of having to wait now 21 days after they've heard some of this stuff and be trying to think back and remember and make sense out of it, in retrospect. Because there's just so much of a volume of information, it's very hard to keep track of it. So I do wonder to what extent that does help them move the deliberations forward a little bit, so that now that they're like formally getting started, they may have already made a lot of progress in terms of knowing where each other is.
Oh, he made another one.
Yeah, I could not agree more, because we don't do that in our jurisdiction either.
Delphi. He did another one. You guys, what Andrew is discussing right now, it's pretty. What she's talking about is that in Indiana, as long as you can talk about what you heard as far as the evidence goes, but you can't talk about like deliberating it. So that's what was allowed to happen here with the jurors, is they could talk about the evidence that they saw, if they were ever to go out because of a sidebar or something like that. The jurors during this process of, seeing the evidence and having this trial, they were able to communicate, whereas jurors are normally like, hey, you can't talk about this, you can't discuss anything until you're going to go ahead and get the case. With this case here in Indiana, the jurors are allowed to talk about the evidence that they saw in the courtroom. They cannot discuss and deliberate how they feel about where they stand with their overall of innocence or guilt, but they can talk about what they saw as far as the evidence goes. So
yeah, this was a process, because I haven't seen it before. I think it's kind of normal for people to react. Your instant reaction is like, oh, well, that's weird. But the more I have given it thought, the more it really has grown on me. I looked a little bit into some of the history of these jury rules in Indiana. They did go through a pretty significant reform period back towards kind of the turn of the century, and it really was focused to make it kind of more user-friendly, more intuitive for the lay people that are serving in these types of positions, and less just abstract and alienating and confusing as a process. And so this is one that, the more I think about it, the more it really has grown on me, because with a trial of this length, that really is one of the challenges, is just losing track of the impressions that you had early on, and just the volume of evidence that's come in. So I can very much see that being helpful from the perspective of somebody who's in there being tasked with making this decision.
Yeah, no question. You practice down, so you're in Georgia, right? So what are your thoughts on it?
I've never heard of that before, and I don't like it. I think it's really inappropriate. I think it solidifies some of the bias against the defendant that is created by hindsight. So what happens is the jury comes in and
again, welcome Delphi, Indiana. Everybody's out here. We got mainstream media row right over here. This is going to be like your mainstream media row over here. Everybody was set up with the line, so you have a lot of people that are waiting here in line to get in as considered the public, and this goes all the way down. Okay, and then, like I said, the reason mainstream media is all on that side is because there was no room to set up on this side because of all the chairs. So, again, all the signs, so many more that have been added. And underneath all here is people that have YouTube channels. People wrote out all the so Holman, you're an embarrassment. Oh my God. Resting golf is Jesse Hoganadi. Investigate the investigation. We are not gullible. I'm not your fall guy. Libby and Abby died innocent. Justice for two beautiful souls. Still holding out. Still holding out hope for justice for Abby and Libby. Still holding out hope. Railroad crossing. Not Galty. The state is the python. The state is the python. Rick Allen is innocent. Ellie guilty. Oh, God.
That was my
Libby, Abby, today is the day.
All right, I'll be right back.
So, again, they're gonna look at Bob's.
So yeah, no, I think that's an amazing. If you want back to her.
I've already done my thumbnail for it. I'm ready to go. I took clips of both of you from last night.
Oh.
I heard you talking about what you thought about the reason the jury left early, and I said the same thing. I thought, oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. What did you have any kind of concept on why you thought the jury left early?
My reaction was that I thought that it was an indication of just likely not a lot of further work that would need to be done. And the main reason why is just because this jury has been already secluded for so long. They've been separated from their families. It's very normal for them to want to go home. And so my thinking was if they go back and they kind of get their initial evaluation of where everybody stands and they think it's going to take a lot of work, then I would think that they would want to get started on that and start pushing through, right away, because the sooner they get to work, the sooner they can get done, hopefully, and be able to get back to their families and their normal lives. I think it's very normal for jurors to want to finish a case before the weekend. They like to get their weekend back, have that time with their families and reconnect before they have to go back to their normal lives. So I am still optimistic for a verdict today. But it just goes to show you can drive yourself crazy trying to read the tea leaves and anticipate what a jury is really doing, because you just never know.
You never know.
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
I just want to ask, who do you guys think they picked for this foreman when they were in there?
Oh, I like that question.
Who do you guys think they went with?
I really don't know. There's a couple of prospects that I am suspicious of. One of them is an older woman. One of them is a younger man who's been one of the more prolific note takers. I'd say those are probably my top two guesses for who it's likely to be.
So who you got any guesses?
That would be juror 5 and juror 12.
The gallery.
That's who she's speaking of.
So you're talking closest to the gallery, back row. Okay.
Back row.
So I'm with Andrea. I think we're thinking of the same two people. I'm talking about front row, two in from the gallery.
Yes,
Right?
the
And
woman.
then, back row, kind of middle. I don't want to give a description.
Yeah.
The younger man in the back row. Those were my two guesses.
Oh, I thought she said all the way on the right.
So but again, we don't know. But he has been prolific, and he's asked, like in terms of the technical, science-based witnesses, he's asked the most questions, at least from my estimation. It seems like he's going to tend to want to write this stuff down. I did not realize, I told Andrea yesterday, I didn't know that there were the alternates were asking questions. I didn't know that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that either. I have never had a good view of the alternates in the courtroom from anywhere I've been seated.
Yeah.
So I haven't really been able to see the extent to which they're participating or reacting or anything like that. So that was interesting and news to me as well.
Yeah, and I had a quick fight with the defense yesterday after lunch, and I asked them. They like her. They like the alternate in the middle a lot. They were like, she is taking copious notes, that she's created graphs for every single witness. I'm like,
Wow.
they're like, they really like her because she's seriously been digging in. So, and we can't see that from our vantage point. So I thought that, and they're in the same place that every lawyer is in the trial. They have no idea. Everybody's sitting on pins and needles. And we were talking about, like, kind of this moment in time for lawyers and how we're feeling. Like that feeling that when they tell you that a verdict is in and you make that 10-minute trek to the courthouse, and that part's horrible, and then it gets worse than when you're opening the door, and then it gets a little worse when you're standing at the table, and then it gets a little worse when the jury comes in, and it gets like it's in the peak of horribleness when you're like waiting for the clerk or the judge, whoever's going to read it, and it's like, and then I'm like, imagine what it's like to be defendant.
Yeah, it is. This is absolutely the worst part. This is the limbo phase, and it's a very uncomfortable position to be in, because you just want to know, like, one way or the other. Everyone is ready for closure, but you just don't get it. So it's very uncomfortable right now.
Yeah.
You work all this time. You spend all this time. You believe something about the case. You hope you persuaded the if 12 complete strangers are going to decide the result of your last year's of work. And
So
that is
interesting.
just a bizarre situation.
Yeah.
You have no idea.
Yeah.
You don't know.
That's so
And
interesting to hear her say that.
and it's just waiting. And they always read all this nonsense at the beginning. You know, they just go on and on with this number and this part, and you're like, the verdict. Tell me the verdict.
Right. Oh man. Oh man.
That sounds like Nancy Grace over
Yeah,
there.
it's.
Oh no, that voice.
Like and it's like for both sides, but especially like from the defendant's side, and like I always tell them.
How long does it usually take to deliver?
Oh, long time. It depends on how things are going. All right, so there is no jury verdict as of now. So basically, if you guys couldn't hear that well, lawyer Lee had a great point there. She's like, from a lawyer standpoint, you're working on a case for years, okay? And here, 12 strangers come together, and they get to decide that, what happens, and you just never know. But they're going to take, all the work that you put in, and you have to somehow compile it into a trial and make it make sense for 12 strangers, okay, to the case. And then when they go and deliberate, these are 12 strangers. So I asked them a question about who they think. So in Indiana, you go back to the deliberating room after you get the case, and you guys pick who's going to be your foreman, okay? And basically, who they said they thought is exactly who I told you guys about, which was juror 5, juror and juror 10. So, and then I said if I had to pick one, it's going to be the group is going to be, like, that's where I don't think either one of those people went in there and said, hey, I want to be the foreman. I think that when they all went in there, it was like, all right, who do we think we should have as the foreman? That's the way that I've read this jury, is no one's marching in there and taking control like that. That's not the type of people that are sitting on this jury. We have really good listeners on this jury, and their mannerisms and how they were even behaving during jury selection told me that it would be like, if somebody voted me up to be like, hey, you were asking really good questions, or like, you, for whatever reason, you've been really respectful in here. I mean, but people are going to be voting people up to say, and then they probably took a vote from there. But I don't see anybody that would have walked in there as one of those 12 jurors and said, hey, I want to be the foreman, or I should be the foreman. I don't see that. I will say that I'm kind of surprised that we don't have a verdict yet, but I'll tell you why. Because of why they decided to go home early yesterday is that it was, okay, we pretty much all are in agreement here, and should it be something that we should take, and sleep on before we go ahead and just are going to rip out this announcement. So, and then so if that's the thought process in that, and then you get here and it's like, well, hey, maybe we should do our, I don't know if somebody woke up this morning, or a couple people woke up this morning and said that they now feel differently, or I want to hear out how you maybe feel, but it would just be interesting and I said, maybe the other reason could be that someone wasn't feeling well. Okay. And they were like, listen, because guess what? If somebody goes to the bathroom, everybody has to leave the room. So could it be something like that? But they got the case, I want to say, just after 2. So actually, it was a little bit before 2. They got the case, I think, at 1:40 p.m. And so they would have had it till like 3:40, so 2 hours. Thank you to whoever got me this. It's I mentioned that I wanted a green tea, and poof, green tea comes out of the place. So So yesterday they would have had the, maybe it took them that long to pick who's gonna be the foreman. You know what I mean? And then maybe they're just like a guy kind of he does like, hey, can we leave? We all need to cool off a little bit. I don't know. It could have been something like that. Or it could have been when they did like, hey, kind of let's see where we're at, and they knew that it was a split, like 6-6, let's say. Okay, so we're not coming to a decision today, and we want to start, fresh. Let's, but also, maybe they were asked. Maybe they were asked, have you guys come? Like, have you guys picked a foreman yet? We just finished with that. Okay, so, but also could be the early dismissals, the false flag. Who knows? So let's talk about. You want to talk about the case though, and you want to talk about the facts. The, this case is just reasonable doubt. That's the thing. Is that this case is a reasonable doubt. The state is saying that they proved that Bridge Guy was Richard Allen, and that Bridge Guy then abducted the girls. So that's the kidnapping, and then killed the girls. That the bullet matched, and it was found there. That's how simple as they tried to break it down. And it's just unfortunately it's just not like that. As much as the state wants it to be, it's not. And if it was that simple, then we'd have a guilty verdict right now. Think about it. If it was that simple that we've proven that Richard Allen's Bridge Guy. Richard Allen said that he was there. Okay. We've proven that Richard Allen is Bridge Guy. He was wearing the same kind of clothes as that, that's the other thing is, you guys, the jury got to hear how the Bridge Guy video came to light in terms of the enhancements and the pixelated pixels and all that stuff. This was, Bridge Guy was so far back that you couldn't even see that there was a person. And so all the enhancement that they had to do to get to that point to make up this, this is what it, was. That was sent to Nassau. But here's the state saying, Richard Allen said he was there. He's Bridge Guy. The girls at 213, right after 213, they were abducted and, killed, and the phone was underneath the, the body and the foot and the shoe, and then the bullet's found. It matches Richard Allen. It's Richard Allen. And it's just like, the girls had underneath their fingernails. Okay, they couldn't get a profile off of the DNA that was underneath the two girls' fingernails. They couldn't get a full profile. All right. So, what are the odds of that if it is just that cut and dry, that there's no DNA at the scene that's Richard Allen's? And that to me that's when you're just like, but then anybody that's deliberating in that room is going to say, no, we have another guy that came in that's a expert saying that the bullet's not a match. It's insufficient. And I don't even believe that the confessions are even being talked about. Okay, that has nothing to do with this case. Okay, statements not made. I think that they've put that all out, and they're talking about the evidence at the scene and the investigation. So, but if it was as simple as what the state tried to do in their closing, we'd have a guilty verdict right now. If everybody in that courtroom believed that, we'd have a guilty verdict right now. You guys, they proved that it was Richard Allen's Bridge Guy. Bridge Guy kidnapped the girls. The phone never, moved again. And then you hear, oh, wait a second there. But actually somebody did handle that phone at 5:45 and then at 10:32. And in Indiana, it's like when they tell you that if something is said in contrast to something else, you have to go with whatever was said that highlights the innocence of the person that's being held for trial. So when you actually read the instructions of what the jury is supposed to do and how they're supposed to weigh the evidence, that's what I'm trying to say, is that if you're going based off of the instructions that you are given, this jury pretty much has no choice but to come back and say not guilty because of those instructions. Sorry, I'm not looking at chat. I hope you guys are all chatting it up.
I had to make sure you guys were all
There's been nothing here proven beyond any reasonable doubt. So it's just truly that simple.
Yeah, I know.
Truth and transparency, big thanks. I'm trying to look. Thank you. WTF granted. Motion to scream. Sorry, I missed that front part. I'll tell you from the timeline is wrong. Y'all showed it. Yeah. Just the amount of stuff that's missing. The stuff that didn't happen. If I was a juror, I'd feel pretty comfortable saying, listen, I'm not saying that Richard Allen didn't do it. I'm saying that it's unfortunate that the evidence that we have here is insufficient to convict Richard Allen. That's how you have to look at things. Not like what I believe. Doesn't matter what you believe. You have to be convinced beyond a reasonable doubt. Well, I believe that he did it. Okay. And you have that right to believe that, but beyond a reasonable doubt? No, I can't say that because those jurors got to see the crime scene photos. I wish they would have went down to the crime scene. If they would have went down there, I'm sorry, but they would have said, how did one person do this? How are these girls not have any nicks on their body? How is there no defensive ones? So it's no. What's up? What's up, baby? How are you?
I'm good. So where are you at? Tell everybody.
I just want to go like this so we can say that we did like this duel.
The dueling. Will that create like that mirror effect where it looks like 1,000 images?
Oh God, I don't even know.
All right. So tell everybody what your little show is, and let's hear about your experience because you've been in and out a little bit. You've been here, had to jet, take care of some real life stuff in your back. So what's going on?
My experience here has just been, it's unfortunate that there's no transparency. And so as many people as possible are trying to bring the transparency.
Which reminds me, why don't you give us the name of your channel?
Oh, Truth and Transparency.
Oh, gee, go figure. All right. So yeah, no, I agree. It's been a trial that's tried in the dark. So
it's been also hard to say that, I know for me personally, I've had to pay people to hold spots. And so to sustain paying somebody anywhere from $100 to $250 per night, that's a lot of money to fork over.
It really is.
But thanks to the locals, a lot of them did a lot of cool things for, people like Andrea, Lawyer Lee. And then what I've seen inside there is it all comes down to 12 jurors. So my big thing is after the Karen Reed case, I wanted to see the jury process more. So I went to Fort Wayne, got to watch the jury selection, really paid attention to the questions that were asked and who they were, how are you picking someone to be on your jury? So I like that process to see that. And then when you get here and you watch the people and the answers that they gave back then, and to see that, okay, these are all the things that you guys said that you needed to see to convict somebody. So here it is now, looking at their body language, seeing the notes that they're taking, what kind of questions they're asking. And from the questions that those jurors asked in the jury selection process that they needed to see and how they were going to weigh the evidence of someone's credibility, just everything that they were saying. That's why I said that this jury is not going to convict Richard Allen based on their answers, because then they're going to have to ask themselves, well, wait, this is what y'all said that you needed to see, and it's not there.
Right.
So beyond a reasonable doubt, that's for me is where I'm saying the jury is going to go not guilty based on their answers to questions.
Yeah, and I have been very vocal that I think that this has been a very attentive jury.
Mhm.
You know, I feel very comfortable with the fact that they have been engaged and super attentive with the note taking, and it was their charge not to sit there and write notes all the time. And like that's what we're doing, right? Like I'm missing things that I wanted to observe during the trial. And this is the first time I've ever gone to a trial and observed it beginning to end where I wasn't trying the case.
I was just gonna say that you're in a position where you're, like the public versus you're always used to like, hey, you're one of the parties. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. So it's been unusual, but I've enjoyed it. I mean, a little less because I had to write the whole time, and it's not my favorite thing to do. Like I like writing creatively, but I don't like sitting there trying to transcribe.
Or like, if you're trying to transcribe, it's really different. Like, if we could have just hit on the main points that we saw, but here we were trying to transcribe, which you're then you're just kind of missing the flow of stuff, or kind of looking at things like okay, I'm a basketball coach and I want to watch the game. It was like, okay, what would I have done versus being in the bleachers, commentating on it.
Right.
Because then you have to come from a different, you're
totally different.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I kind of experienced this for somebody that would be like a lawyer Lee or an Andrea or you. But then for you guys to come in here and just be like, hey, we're straight we're court reporters here.
Right.
So I'm using our shorthand to try to get as much information as we can to then go tell the world about it.
Right.
And so that's positions that you guys have never been in.
Yeah.
And I think that everybody did a great job. And when you compare each other's notes, we're clearly getting the same thing out of there because no one's reporting off the wall. You know what I mean? I don't see some off the wall reporting.
Yeah, no, I know. And it's like, look.
And it was hard to hear in there, man.
Oh my God, it was so hard to hear.
It was really hard to hear in there. You kind of like close your eyes in a way and then just use your ears better, I feel like. I had to do that a couple times.
I'm not going to lie. I was doing the really old man, like ear cupping trick, which actually works, where I'm talking where you put your open palm behind your ear and push your ear toward like the meat of your ear toward
yes like you're like
oh my God. Yes. And I had no shame in doing it because I just couldn't hear some of it. So all right, tell everybody where they can find you.
Truth and Transparency on YouTube.
All right, and she's awesome. She's a digger.
Yeah, give me timeline, give me discovery. I'll get you a timeline.
Yeah, she is that. All right, girl. Good
all right,
to see
thank you so much, Rob. We love you. Oh, I love that. So God love people not being able to hear. God, I don't ever do interviews, but I gave one to Bob there. I thought the jury was very attentive to the gallery. I thought that they were always looking in the gallery, looking around. They were actually also, thank you, baby. They were actually also talking to each other, like during like sidebars, because there was like that white noise. Everything that we watch on TV, we don't get to see the jury, right? Because they don't show the jury. So to be here and see the jury while, covering it, it was a great way to report. It was a great way to report. I would never dox anybody. I would never do anything like that. But to describe the jurors and kind of who, they're 12 Americans just like us. You got people that are, across the board, different occupations, and they all come from different parts. When I say different parts of the world, I just mean their background, how they were raised, Are they an only child? Do they have siblings? Are they a parent today? So it's how you interpret something versus how I interpret something. But it's going to come down to respect. If you're a juror, like if they all respect each other's opinions on something, that's going to go a long way in deliberating. Because if they respect each other's opinions and they say, okay, well, now let's set our opinions aside and let's go through this checklist of what this truly means. And that's how I would want to say, like, do we all agree that, what beyond a reasonable doubt means? So I'd want to ask the question right away is, do I think that one person could have committed these crimes? Why aren't there any defensive wounds? Do I think that the state, how did the state prove that Bridge Guy is Richard Allen? And then how did they prove that Bridge Guy committed the murders? And And then that becomes circumstantial. And that becomes really circumstantial. And then I would ask, if I was in that jury deliberating room, I would say, okay, let's say there wasn't a bullet. Would anybody be able to say that Richard Allen in this room right now? So I would want to know how much the bullet influences people. You got to do a lot of listening and seeing where people are, and then a lot of propositioning. But these people never thought in a million thousand years that they'd ever be on a jury that's a murder case, and one of the biggest murder cases in Indiana history. So, I don't trust the bullet evidence. For me, I don't trust the cartridge. Okay. A question that I really wish that they would have asked is to the investigators is how many guns did you compare that? And actually they may have been asked and they didn't know the answer. You know. What else? There's so much that didn't get in this trial, you know. To hear that an investigator went and used Google during a break and then had the audacity to then talk about that on the stand. And then the defense was like, 7.5 years. And you come back here and tell the jury that, I just Googled it, and it could be a possibility that the phone could have been water damaged or dirt, and that could have made the phone jack say that there was an input, but then also at 10:32 say that something came out of it. Then it was like inputted and then output. But what does that have to do with the call that came right as boom, the ringer started going, and then boom, the jack goes in? How do you explain that? Did that happen because of the water? But then also, if you thought that it was water damage, didn't you test the phone to see if there was water damage? I mean, you just can't have it both ways. And back and forth when you're talking like this, then everybody would have to say to themselves, see guys, you see how we're talking back and forth and it could be this and it could be that? That's what reasonable doubt is. When there's these possibilities is reasonable doubt. And I would say, like, I could sit here right now and say, hey, do I think it's Richard Allen? Yeah, but it could also be somebody else, So how I would be saying stuff in the courtroom or in the deliberating room is to say, so we think that Richard Allen would know for all these years what they were looking for with Bridge Guy in that outfit, right? Because that's been seen over and over and over. Okay. And then he's just going to march in there and say what he's wearing is the same thing that's on, this alleged Bridge Guy video. Think about that, guys. Like, come on. That's kind of crazy. For me, been to the crime scene, no way one person did this. To me, no defensive wounds, no hands being bound, no, to not be able to. It's just Abby having Libby's clothes on. How's that happen? The jury got to see this is what she was wearing. So how did she end up with her clothes on? When did this happen? Like. And it's just my personal opinion, but juror number 6 is not convicting Richard Allen. So that's why I gave my statement that I believe that this will be a not guilty, or the very, latter of it would be a hung jury. We are deliberating here in Delphi. Yes, deliberations. Walking around keeps me warm because there is this breeze here, and it's coming through, and it's just cold. Yep, no, they did not want to spend the $10,000 to do the height analysis. I think the jury has seen how little Richard Allen is, how small he is in statue. I also think that the jurors also are very aware that nobody identified Richard Allen as the bridge guy. Okay, the prosecutors never asked that question. Don't you think that that's interesting? It's interesting because it's a very risky question to ask, right? But they also didn't ask it in any type of depo. Also, the state chose to not depose defense witnesses. Like, I think that is wild. Then when I was in there, I realized why. Because then you don't have to do certain things. Then you can try to keep certain things out. I would not want anybody to convict anybody off of somebody being in solitary confinement for months. And you're going to talk about that then they give these confessions, that these confessions were not substantial. Did you understand that when they're counting, one of the confessions is, I did it? That's one. I did it. Anything like that. I did it. I killed. Like, that's a confession. Okay. So, but I wouldn't want to be convicted off of this, and you wouldn't want to be convicted off of this. Think about it. Everything that you guys think that is in that courtroom as far as evidence, because you've been following this case for all the years, that's not what the jury saw. So
I think the ones that you pointed out were more to me.
The prosecutors never asked any of the people that were on that trail if Bridge Guy was in the courtroom today. Think about that. Come on, that's the whole point, is that the prosecution was saying that they proved in their closing that Bridge Guy is Richard Allen. If I'm a juror, I'm going to go in that deliberating room and say, did I maybe miss it in my notes? Did somebody identify Richard Allen as the Bridge Guy when anybody was questioned? Why didn't they ask that question? Then I can't wait to interview a juror and ask them, did you guys turn in a question, because they were allowed to ask questions, that maybe wasn't answered? Did any of the jurors want to ask any of those girls that took the stand, hey, is Bridge Guy here? Is Bridge Guy, did you see Bridge Guy in the courtroom? Don't you think that that's what you'd want to ask? And now I know why he waited till the closing arguments to say that. Because then the jury's not able to ask any questions. But that didn't come out until closing. In his opening statement, he never said that Richard Allen's Bridge Guy. Go back and read the opening. Because then if he did, then I believe that the jury dropped the ball with asking that question, or that question was not, when they were asking these questions, they went to Gall first, then Gall had a sidebar with the prosecution and the defense, and then they went over these questions. So I'm curious to know if any questions were booted. So, the other thing is that the state of Indiana decided on their own that this crime, who cares about any female DNA? You guys. What? Yeah. Out of all the DNA samples that they took to then compare them to the unknowns at the crime scene, only two, I'm sorry, she said only one. She's like, maybe two samples were of females. The rest were all male DNA, even though you know that you have unknown female DNA there. And this is besides, Kelsey's, there is an unknown female full profile DNA there. That's still never been, It's still unknown to who that female DNA is. Do you guys know all of the all these people that were out there on the trail that day? Do you know how many phones were extracted? Do you know how many phones were extracted? None of those phones were extracted. None of those phones were extracted. How are you not getting these people's cell phones and extracting them and preserving them? How does that happen? Especially like you don't know who could have gotten a picture somewhere, where what apps they were using, what it could have shown where they were. I mean, this case was 100% solvable. It looks like they didn't want to solve it. DNA is not always found in every crime. I'm not talking about the fact that I'm saying that there is unknown DNA that has never been accounted for. And it's female. If you find out who that female DNA belongs to, then maybe they were there with a boyfriend, and that boyfriend just happens not to be there. I'm sorry, but women commit crimes. Women commit crimes every single day. Women help males commit crimes every single day. So to think that you wouldn't go that route to then possibly identify the male involved is beyond me. So, no, there's another DNA that's there. Kelsey's has already been. That's the one that was wrapped around. You guys, this is different than Kelsey's wrapped around the hair around Abby's finger. That's already been identified because it happened during the trial. But there is unknown female DNA number 2. Unknown female DNA number 2. That has never, ever been found to see who it belongs to. So just making sure everybody understands that. The hair strand around Abby's fingers, that belonged to Kelsey. There is another unknown female. It's female number 2. Because female number 1 was unidentified, which was your hair sample. There was another female unknown profile there. So, making sure everybody understands that. Oh, where'd Andrea go? She left her chair. Oh, she's probably staying in the sun. Andrea, are you sun tanning? I knew it. Now I have 3 videos of Atlanta Bible Criminality who will be live in about 24 minutes. Oh.
People were saying, hey, can you do this one? Or can you do that one? And I'm like, okay. And then some of them were even brought up here and just left. So, I seen that.
Yep, thank you. Make sure you guys make yourself known. Thumbs up the video. Thumbs up the video. It helps surface through the, look at there's people that are standing out the window, like looking and watching. Look at those people that are up there. Oh, you guys can't see that far, but there's people in the middle window. It says all the way to the top in the middle window. There's 2 people looking out the windowsill there. I wonder what room the jury has. I'm sure they can't be looking out a window. I think they're just staring at 4 walls and and I'm sorry, but I'm not sold on the fact that there was this alleged cross-contamination during that they're basically saying at the crime scene that one of the troopers that were there at the crime scene is who the ISP troopers' DNA is on the hoodie of Abby. I'm sorry, but they need to look into that some more. Okay? So, but they're basically saying that DNA, they're just kind of saying, oh, well, it came from, at the crime scene when they were processing the scene. And I say, I would take another look at that if I was you. Again. Actually, here in this chat, people have the right to their opinion, and it's not discussing people's opinions. But when you want to state things that are not true, or that you don't know are true, or they're your opinions, so please, if you have something to say and it's your opinion, just in my opinion, and then write whatever you want. You have your right to your opinion. Truth and transparency. We don't censor that. But to say things without saying that this is my opinion, we ask that is not put in chat. So, how are you able to keep your battery going?
I'm doing okay.
Okay, good. Taking a look at all these camera crews. What's up, girl?
I'm trying to go to the restroom.
Oh, where are you going to the restroom
Can I
at?
go in there?
I mean, you should be able to go. Why can't I? I don't know.
What is Bob doing?
I don't know what's going on. All I know is, are they going to close down the street? What's going on?
Ticketing people for parking for longer than 2 hours.
They're ticketing people that are parking for longer than 2 hours?
Yeah. I just moved mine down 3 spots.
Oh, so you have to like move, leave, and come back?
I just moved mine.
Or can you just take one ticket? Would it be for the whole day then?
That's what it says towaways out. That's my only thing.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? That's what I was thinking. Just take the $30.
They're telling people now.
Boost my channel for me. I don't care.
So it says, guys, 2 hour parking. So you have to move after 2 hours, otherwise you will get a ticket. And then what? Then they're gonna tow? I mean, this is wild. All I know is I'm on my hind legs, people. Yes, Stefano, that's your opinion. Thank you for stating your opinion. When you convict the wrong person, that is not justice, though. So the other thing is, I think there's bombshells coming out here as soon as this verdict is reached. I believe that there's bombshells coming because we're going to get back and talk about February 13th, 2017, and we're going to talk about everything that truly happened in Delphi on that day. And then you guys can tell me what you think about all the coincidences on that day. You guys do remember that Nick McLeland was a defense attorney back in the day before he became a prosecutor, right? You guys aware of that? Nick McLeland was a defense attorney at that time when the murders happened. He was a defense attorney. Okay? So I want you guys to do some FOIA requests. Go check out what's going on February 13th, 2017 in the courts.
Yeah, he's dead. Go across the street. Bob.
There's my jinxie. I'm gonna let you go.
Again, these are all the signs that people have.
Yes.
Hey, baby. Hi, honey.
The state is the python.
That's the lady that's called me trash.
Oh, there we go. Excellent work, Lana Girl. When this trial is all over, I want you and your fam to come down to Key West, Florida. That's where I used to live. I used to live in Key West. Take y'all out on a sandbar charter. We have Airbnb and our guest, your choice. Wait, were you living there? Were you living in Key West back? Because in 2014 to 2018, I lived on Newton Street over there in Old Key West. I had my trivia company down there. It was awesome. Thank you so much, Laura Jean. And I want to come for Boat Week. When's Boat Week? That's got to be coming up. When's Boat Week? That's one of my favorite weekends. Careful, Karen, with the sign. Assaulted Bob. What the heck? I don't even know what to say about Where's mine that I wrote? Lady Justice has a blindfold for a reason, guys. Lady Justice has a blindfold for a reason. It's called, there should be no bias. There should be no prejudice. There should be off of the evidence. Thank you. Thank you, Murky. Thank you, yes. Lana, thank you for always looking into each case with due diligence. We all have opinions, but I never want to see a person convicted wrongly. That's the worst thing that could happen, you guys. Okay, it happened in Pennsylvania to Sheldon Jeter Jr. And this is just why the process matters so much. A black man was completely railroad framed. I mean, it was just. And if Sheldon Jeter Jr. would have had 1/10 of the advocacy that Richard Allen had with his defense team, Sheldon Jeter Jr. would be a free man right now. Thank goodness I just happened to be the right place at the right time covering that case and working exclusively with the family to see to it that Sheldon's actually going to be getting an evidentiary hearing due to the reporting of truth and transparency. There wasn't one motion that was put in on the behalf of Sheldon Jeter Jr. So, that's why the process matters. When you wrong one man, you wrong all. So, thank you. It's coming through. Choo choo. Choo choo. Oh, signs are blowing. Oh gosh, signs are going. Lady just put her hands on. What? Oh gosh, okay. Admitted the crime over 60 times to his mom. Nope, he did not. Sorry, Miss Marple, that's not correct. That's not correct either. He didn't have all of his phones except the 2017 phone. The update is that what time do you guys have as far as your clock goes? Okay, they break for lunch. So, and then they don't deliberate during lunch. So, okay. All right. Jury is on lunch. If Murky, can you write those words and I'll highlight it up? So, the jury is on lunch break. It is 11:45 here, Eastern Standard Time, Delphi, Indiana. Nothing yet. Nothing yet. They get an hour for lunch. So, thank you. Thank you. Okay. So again, jury is on lunch break. It doesn't, you guys, this is what I think about those confessions. If we as the United States of America have to put somebody in solitary confinement for 4 months straight, messing with any medication if you take depression medication, if you take anxiety medication, whatever you're for mental health, that's all this world has been just pumping down our throats is handling mental health, big farm. Here's pills, right? So, you know how many people out there take medications for anxiety or ADD or depression? 90% of the people in this chat do. And if you're not willing to admit it, then you're lying. And that's fine, lie to yourself, okay? But nobody, not me, not you, not anybody, should be put in solitary confinement for 4 months. Mess with your medication, okay? And then you think that anything that you say to try to get up out of being in solitary confinement, okay? And if you think that it's not a big deal, then let me put you in solitary confinement. I bet you don't last 4 days, okay? You'll say anything to get out of there. What do you want me to say? Tell me what to say. Tell me what to say. The world is going to be able to see the interviews that happened with Richard Allen, with Mullen, and then with Holman. Those interviews that happened on the 13th and the 26th. Richard Allen denied 25 times that he had nothing to do with these murders, that couldn't possibly be his bullets or anything like that. Okay? He was respectful. He didn't his demeanor didn't change. Okay? So, but if you want to say he confessed and did all this stuff, if we, as the United States of America, has to do that to get a confession out of somebody, shame on the United States of America. And if we, the people, want to take somebody that had to confess like that, and then you're going to back the confession, shame on you as a person. Shame on you. That's not what the United States of America stands for. That's not why we live here. And I don't think the jury is considering those confessions in the slightest. Not in the slightest. You're welcome.
Not yet.
No, there was no confession that was made prior to the arrest of Richard Allen. There was no confession made within the first 4 months. There was, out of those 61 confessions, there weren't 61 confessions to his mom and his wife. These confessions, these alleged confessions, came him saying, mumbling, curled up in a ball in a cell where inmates that were supposed to be like, they were watching him constantly. They had a camera on him the whole time, and just writing whatever he would say or do in these cells. And these are coming from written hearsay upon hearsay, written down what you thought you heard him say, and go ahead and write that down and timestamp it. Okay. And then it was caught that the warden went ahead and falsified when he received this letter that had this writing of Richard Allen. And he said, I got that in March of 2023. Really? Because the letter wasn't written until April of 2023. The jury impeached the warden of Westville Correctional Facility, who, by the way, got fired. He doesn't have a job. Walla, where's her ass at? I mean, this is insanity. What's going on? And how many people had the audacity to get up on that stand and evade and be not truthful. Dr. Monica Walla was in Facebook groups. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Donna M, how you doing, love? From all these trials I've learned, you can refuse to answer any. Yeah. Yep. You can get a lawyer. Yep. You guys, it should all be about this evidence, okay? It shouldn't be about anything that anybody has said or take all of that out. Let's talk about what's the evidence here? What's the evidence here? What's the evidence here? What'd you do with the evidence? You know, how'd you try to preserve the evidence? There's no way that I'd be okay with somebody convicting anybody in this chat off of the evidence or these incel treatments and so again, the jury is on lunch break. Okay, the jury is on lunch break. All the oh my God, Lana! Someone is posting the crime scene photos on X at Truth and Transparency. What? I have no idea. I'm not on X.
That's why I'm here right now because he knows my mood.
So, all right, guys, we will be back here from Delphi. The noon hour here. I'm sure the stations will go live here talking about that we have yet to reach a verdict, or if there is a verdict in, it has yet to be told to anybody. So, thank you guys so much for being in and tuning in. We'll be back. Truth and Transparency, appreciate you. And thank you for all of the kind love and kindness in chat. So, thank you guys so much. We will see you soon.